Hi, I'm TC Petty III, designer of Spires, a new game from Nevermore Games coming out in 2017. This is a rules explanation video, and here's a guy with a British accent to give you a thematic intro to the game.
The royal family, sensing a growing boredom within the peasantry, has issued a decree to beautify the kingdom, adorning buildings, tenements, towers and steeples far and wide with the most alluring of spires. The only caveat? None of these gorgeous architectural embellishments can be built taller than the royal palace, of course. As one of the kingdom's most talented and respected builders, you have taken it upon yourself to earn the royal family's respect. Compete at the local markets for the best and most extravagant building plans, earn favour with each of the guilds, and earn scrolls with the royal endorsements to beautify the city and become the most successful builder of all time in Spires.
So Spires is a game about building light-colored columns of spires to score the most points. There are 6 different suits in the game that represent 6 different types of spires. During the game, you will compete over cards in the market and place any claim cards into the appropriate column by suit. At the end of the game, when the deck is run out and all cards have been removed from the markets, you will score points for your columns. Each card scores 5 points as long as it's in a column that has 3 or fewer cards. If a column has 4 or more cards, you have angered the royal family, and each card in the column is worth -1 point. Players will also score bonus points for having the most symbols in their columns, regardless of whether that column is too tall, and for any royal scrolls in their possession. The player with the most points wins. Place the 3 markets on the table. Then give each player a set of personal market cards in their color and a scoring reminder card. Choose a player to be dealer and give them the first player card. They'll shuffle the deck of cards and deal out 3 cards face up to the markets, and 5 cards to each player face down to form their starting hand, and 1 card face up in front of them to begin their columns. If at any point a player or market is dealt a scroll card, place this card in the discard pile and replace it with a new card. Once all players in the market is set, shuffle any discarded scrolls into the deck and place it face down nearby. If you're playing with 3 players, you'll remove 3 cards from each suit before setup. These cards are conveniently marked with 4 dots in the lower corner as they are only used in a game with 4 players. If you're playing with 2 players, also remove another 3 cards from each suit marked with 3 dots in the lower right-hand corner. In a 2-player game, you will only use 2 markets. The 3rd market card is placed back into the box and cannot be chosen during the game. Players will now have a hand that includes 3 market cards and 5 Spires cards. The first part of each turn uses the market cards. Each market has 1 card beneath it that players will compete over to place into their columns. All players will simultaneously choose 1 market card and place it face down on the table. When ready, all players reveal simultaneously. If a player flips over their card and they are the only player to choose a market, they simply take the card below the market and immediately add it to the correct column. However, if more than 1 player flips over the same market, they will now compete. Using the 5 Spires cards from their hands, each player will now choose 1 card and again place it face down. Once all players are ready, reveal. There are 2 possible outcomes. If a player plays a card that is the same suit as the card beneath the market, the highest card of the same suit wins the competition. If no player plays a card that is the same suit as the card beneath the market, the highest card wins. The winning player then takes the market card and all cards played to compete and places them into their columns immediately. That's right, all the cards. Sometimes it's not good to win a competition. Plus, if you think you can't win or don't want to, you can always try to lose on purpose and stick your opponent with cards they don't want. After the competition is over, any cards remaining in the market stay where they are, and new cards are drawn from the top of the deck to fill any empty spaces. Once the market is filled, starting with the first player, any player involved in a competition draws back up to 5 cards. You should never have more than 5 Spire cards in your hand. There are 3 special cards to spice things up in the world of competitive spire building: Architects, Scrolls, and Wild cards. Architects are powerful allies in the builder's competition. When played on suit to a competition, they are the highest cards of that suit. When played off suit, they count as zeros. If more than one architect is played off suit, the tie is broken by color. When won, they are added to your columns as normal and count towards the card limit in that suit. There are two types of scroll cards in Spires. The first offer either 5 or 10 points, and when won are placed nearby for endgame scoring. The second allows a player to immediately discard 1 or even 2 cards from their columns and place them into a general discard pile. Scrolls have a symbol in the upper left-hand corner that notes that a player may never keep this card in their hand. When a scroll is drawn, that player chooses a market and places the card below and redraws. The winner of the competition in that market will now also receive the scroll card. Scrolls have no suit. If a card with no suit is alone in a market, the winner of the competition is decided only by the highest card played. There are 2 cards numbered 73 and 74. These cards are the highest cards in the game, but have no suit. When won, after placing all other cards into your columns, you must place a wild into your tallest column. If 2 columns are the same height, you may choose which column to add the card to. The game ends when the Spires deck runs out and all markets are empty. Remember, markets are always filled from the deck first, and then cards are drawn in turn order. Most likely, a player or market will not receive a card on the final turn or turns, and that is okay. When the game is ended, all players must discard 1 card from their hand, and then place all remaining cards from their hand into their columns. Don't be afraid of getting into competitions. It's the only way you'll be able to get rid of terrible cards in your hand before being forced to play them at the end of the game. Make sure to grab your trusty pen and paper or tablet device. Start by comparing guild symbols in each category. See which player has collected the most quills, the most crowns, and the most swords, and award points for each. If players tie for the most in a category, all tied players receive all the points for that category. Symbols are powerful. If you just let someone collect all the guild symbols, they'll probably win. Then, if any of your columns has more than 3 cards, pick all those cards up and count the number of negative points you will receive. Remember, each card in a column with 4 or more cards is worth -1 point each. Gain 5 points for each remaining card in columns of 3 or fewer. And add any bonus points you may have received from scrolls. The player with the most points is the winner. And that's how you play Spires. If you'd like to try the advanced video or the solo mode, you can check them out in the links below or in the description. And thank you so much for watching.